What's up, Titans fans, and welcome to another edition of Titans Global Podcast. I'm your host, Maximus Titan Fan, and with me, as always, is my good buddy Link. What's up, bro?
What's going on? Good to be here. Glad to see all you guys. And as always, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. If you're already subscribed to us, give us a share out there somewhere. We want to get to as many people as we can because this show, as always, is for y'all. And hop in the comment section. Let us know what you think heading into this week. Predictions, bold predictions, score predictions, whatever you got, hit us with it, and we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, man, and before we get into talking about the game, I actually have something I just want to talk about. But No Shave November, I do it every year. I usually talk about it every year. I'm surprised that we've got, I think, 3 shows in. This is the third show in November, and I still haven't mentioned it yet. But as you probably know, if you watch the show on the regular, I don't like to shave. So just about any excuse for me not to shave is a win. But after I started doing this a couple of years, I realized what it was actually about. And it's about early detection and diagnosis of cancers that affect men, such as prostate, colon, and testicular cancer. So it's something that you actually want to have some attention on. It's something that if you're a dude over 25, it's something you might want to talk to your doctor about or whatever. But early screens, get your detections, check yourself, man. Don't. This isn't like breast cancer though. Don't ask your friends to be a ball buddy. I don't think that'll work out too well. But anyway, on to other things. The boring crap. Titans versus Vikings. They're only a 6-point favorite. That's weird to me. Is that not weird to you?
Kind of blows my mind if I'm being honest. And look, I'm a Titans fan, but I'm also a person who likes money, and this kind of feels like free money, in my opinion. I mean, I hate to say that, but yeah, kind of weird, and it hasn't moved. I don't know. Maybe it's the turnovers the last couple of weeks for the Vikings, but man, if you look at this Vikings defense and what I think they're going to be able to do to Will Levis, I just I don't see the Titans covering 6. I just don't. I mean, especially when you look at the Detroit game and then last week and what those lines were with the Chargers. This one feels like a big drop. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I like the Vikings by 6 if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It could get pretty nasty pretty quick. The over-under this week is 40.5 points. I guess since, last week they went, over, they gave them just a smidge more. Uh,
Yeah, that dropped a point from what I'm seeing. I've got, of course, I mean every book's different. I got 39.5, but still right on par. I mean, this feels like an under game for me. I mean, you look at how the Vikings looked last week, and then how the Titans have looked basically all season. It feels like one of those grinded out things where the Vikings might pull ahead late, but I don't see this being a shootout in my personal opinion.
you don't see an offensive shootout between the Titans and the Vikings?
I don't see an offensive shootout on the Titans side of the ball. I feel like Darnold might get hot. This could be a get right game for him, but I don't see the Titans. No, I don't see him breaking that 17 points anytime soon.
Oh man. No, I don't really either. Although I don't know. I think 7. No, not against the Vikings. No, their defense is, I mean, I'll be honest, their defense is what they do well. So yeah, it's gonna be like one of those defensive games. I definitely think the under is the smart way to go on 40.5 points.
Yeah, for the Titans to have a chance in this one, and even for the over to hit, Will Levis is going to have to do something more than he did last week. Which, nothing against him last week. I mean, we saw the progression. We talked about it on the post game show. How seems like he's being more of that game manager that we expected him and wanted him to be at the beginning of the season. But for them to have a chance in this one, I feel like he's going to have to basically win them the game. And I don't know about you, but I'm not fully confident in that right now. I mean, that's just my opinion, but crazier things have happened, I guess. But no, this feels like one. If they're gonna have a shot, he's gonna have to air the ball out. He's gonna have to make smart decisions. I mean, that's kind of the only path to victory. I think Pollard he's been a weapon, and Spears, and they might have a decent game on the ground. But if you look at this Vikings defense, we tout Tennessee as being a top defense in this league. I mean, they're top. They might still be number one in scoring defense. I think they dropped after that Detroit game. But when you look at the Vikings defense, I mean, they're top five in multiple categories: sack rate, winning against the run yards per game, points per game. So I mean, for me, I don't know that the run game's going to get it done. I don't know that the screen game's going to get it done. I think Levis is going to have to put the ball in the air in this one if they want a shot.
Yeah, he's going to have to put the ball in the air. He's going to have to rely on the ground game for sure. I'm kind of glad that Tajay Spears had a really good game last week, showed that he was healthy and ready to be back on the football field. Because to be honest, Pollard needs more rest. So I feel like they need to give a little bit more of a load to Tajay and maybe lay off Pollard a little bit so that he can be fresh in the end of the season for whatever reason. I don't know. But I figure that's a nice way to segue into the injuries that are going into this game. Because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, there's not a whole bunch of stuff to talk about in this game. It's going to be pretty brutal as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be nasty. Injuries, Tony Pollard, Justin Hardy, those two I feel like will play, but they were questionable today and limited participation. They're questionable for the game. Snead and Watson, I don't think either one of them are going to play. Neither one of them were at practice today, as reported by Teron Davenport. So I don't expect to see them. So we might get a healthy dose of John Ajoku or maybe the new guy we picked up off the street earlier this week.
Yeah, Snead is becoming a weird one for me. I mean, at this point, they could have put him on IR since the last time he played, and he could have been. I don't know. Again, I don't like to question guys' loyalty and mindset, but there was some stuff that was put out in a tweet that was then deleted, and I didn't really get that it was that big of a shot. But I mean, look, this guy hasn't played since week 3. I mean, it's getting a little bit ridiculous at this point. Obviously, I don't know what the injury is, but if it were something that were serious, I would think it would be an IR situation. So the fact that it's not, and they're still treating this day to day, but yet he doesn't practice, he doesn't play. I don't get that. I don't get that from a roster standpoint. I don't get that from a L'Jarius Sneed standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. Like, I don't know. That one's weird to me.
Look, man, I'll be honest. What's up? I'll be honest. I don't appreciate. Did you see the interview? I think it was today. They did a good interview with him. Paul Kuharsky, it sounded like in the interview. I don't know. Yep. Thank you. But yeah, I did not like his responses to the questions. And look, he wasn't giving bad answers. It's not like he was saying the wrong things. It's just like
he sounds checked out. I mean,
yeah,
that's my opinion.
I'm a leader of dudes at work. I'm a manager of people. So, and you can tell when someone is just not into what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They're just lackadaisical about it. They don't really give a they don't care, and their heart's not in it. And that's the thing that you can't. It's like I tell people all the time, you can't teach people to care. They have to care all on their own. That's something that's either built in you or it's not. And I am sorely disappointed in the fact that he has his worst game as a professional, and then he's been injured ever since. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And then on top of that, he gives really vague and just dismissive answers to questions about his health, which seem to be pretty predominant questions at this point. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I did not care for that.
Yeah, I agree. And again, to me, it's just like he's checked out, and I don't know that there's. I mean, what do you even do with that? I mean, he's still under contract. I mean, you're hoping to be at least competitive come next year. So I don't know. Going to be weird to see how they handle that moving forward, and then interested to see if he. I mean, do you think he comes back at all at this point? I mean, we're only just over halfway through the season. I mean, do you see
I
him
mean,
coming
he
back?
has
And
to.
I mean, I would think so, but like I said, it's been since week 3. I mean, we're sitting here. He's missed this many games already. I don't know. It's a weird thing. And I
If he
mean,
doesn't have a surgery, he has to come back this year. Otherwise, he has serious questions.
that's yeah. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. I'll put it that way. So and then the other guy you mentioned, Leroy Watson. Like
Uh,
you said, don't expect him to play. I mean, this this is a Viking again. This is a Vikings defense and defensive line. They like to blitz. I mean, Mike Flores, he's seeing this situation we have here on the right side of this offensive line, and I'm telling you, he's gonna bring pressure. This will probably be the most pressure the Titans have faced all year, in
oh,
my honest opinion,
absolutely.
and probably that they will face for the rest of the year. It could get very ugly, and I think the message to Will Levis is you've got to get the ball out quick, and we'll get into him a little bit more later, but man, Leroy Watson being out, I mean, that's you're starting. I mean, NPF is it? Are we back to NPF at this point?
No, no, I can't. I can't do that, man. Even John Ajoku and Leroy Watson swapping out all game last game, they still played much better than PFF or NPF did. So
So you
I
don't
can't
see
go
it.
back to that
You
dude.
don't see another split between a Joku and NPF. You think they still try to do what they've been doing and use that rotation, or do you just go with the Joku the whole time? Like that's where I'm at
I
because obviously because what this coaching staff has told us is we don't trust either one of these guys to play a full game. I mean, does your opinion on Joku now change just because Watson's out? I mean, I feel like they're still going to try to rotate because they don't have faith in anybody at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. But if I was going to rotate anybody, I would rotate the dude that we just got. Because I mean, I don't know what he's got. Shit, at this point, anybody's better than you know what I mean. You got to start changing up something. MPF is just not it. He needs to stick. If he's any good at fantasy football, he needs to stick to that
Jeez.
career and just go with it. Because he's not a good offensive lineman.
Is that still a thing?
And
Have you watched him
I,
do any of that?
no, man. I'll be honest with you. I've been so sick with him this year. I can't. I can't. I just can't. I can't with that guy.
Oh man, I don't know. We'll see.
And
So yeah,
the Vikings, just like you said, the defensive line of the Vikings eats up offensive lines all day. And they know we're weak on the right side. They're just gonna.
I mean, they might just take their whole defense and just line them up at right side. I mean, I don't know at this point because it's a hole. I mean, it's basically a hole. Like you're a man down on the right side, and I just with the type of game that the Titans are wanting to run. I mean, now with Levis back in, I mean, you've got to bring in a tight end help. You got to do something, or they're just going to eat all freaking day. I mean, run to the left is pretty much the game plan this week. I feel like.
You might not be wrong, man. I put out a video on YouTube. If you're not on our channel, subscribe. You'll see these videos I'm talking about. But I put out a video on YouTube of Latham's work in last week's game, and it is awesome, dude. So he is just proven Rand Carthon right, and the fact that he got him as a third left and playing him as a left tackle. Smart dude, man. Rand Carthon. If nothing else, his draft picks hit. If nothing else, you got to give him that. The dude is a hell of a drafter.
Yeah. You can't argue with that. I mean, especially this. And look, I mean, we're in a situation now where J.C. Latham is probably the best and the most trusted offensive lineman you have now that Cush is on IR. I mean, that's literally the staple of this offensive line, and he's 9 games into his NFL career. I mean, that's ridiculous. So, yeah, a lot of hate on Latham being that first round pick, but he's proven a lot of people wrong, and I think he's a big part of this thing going forward. I think he becomes a leader by next year. I mean, if he doesn't accomplish it by the end of this year.
Did you see his mic'd up video
Yeah.
from last week? Dude, I had to show that to my wife, my friends, like everybody. I was like,
Yeah.
just listen to this dude.
Yeah.
Listen to how excited he is to be
Mhm.
playing for a 2-win team.
Yep.
I
Well,
mean,
and that goes back to, I mean, look, like Nick Saban, the go to college football retired, but I mean that just goes back to Alabama. I mean that's just if you look at those players and the way that they were coached through Saban, I mean excellent transition to the NFL. I mean you look at Derrick Henry, J.C. Latham. I mean there's plenty of guys out there, you know. So I think a lot of that's to do with his initial coaching and just the personality that he's gained through playing football his whole life. And I'm super excited to have him here for the future.
yeah, me too, man. I'm really excited for J.C. Latham and to see where he can grow into that left tackle spot. Him and Sco are actually turning into a nice 1-2 combo there on the left side. Let's see. Sam Darnold. I do want to talk about that. Sam Darnold has actually looked more like himself in the last 2 weeks. He threw 5 turnovers in the last 2 weeks. And in the last game, I think he had 3 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, which was an NFL record for I guess being the most terrible offense and still winning a game.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean Titans pretty much have that record when you look at the eye test, but Minnesota did it on the field. So yeah, but again, it just goes back to what as a team they can play a game like that on offense and still come out with a win. I don't know. I think that says a lot about Jacksonville too, just that they were able to let that slip away. But yeah, I mean it's still an impressive team. The talent that they have on this Viking squad is nothing to laugh at.
yeah, and what do you think that our defense is capable even of making him make those mistakes that he made in the past in this game?
I mean, I think they're capable. I mean, yeah, it's an NFL team. I think any NFL team would be capable of forcing someone like Sam Darnold into mistakes. But it's it seems like the
Probable.
turnovers. I mean the turnovers they have. Let's be honest, they were kind of gifted to them. I haven't seen anybody really other than the Simmons strip sack, which wasn't. I haven't seen anybody really make a play on defense. I mean, yeah, they've read his eyes from the safety position. Monty Hooker's, he's came up. But if you look at those plays, I mean, the ball's basically in his lap. So I think this defense, is as good as they are. I still think they have to find a way to generate those turnovers. They have to give him looks he hasn't seen. They have to get in his head a little bit. But the biggest thing for me this week is, we keep harping on it, is the pass rush. I mean, you've got to get in his face. You've got to make him
Where it
uncomfortable.
starts.
Because if you let him sit in the pocket, he's going to make those plays. That's just a simple fact. He's good enough to make the plays if you just let him sit there. So that's where it starts for me. I don't know. I mean, I'm still looking around for Landry to make a splash at some point. I mean, Arden Key kind of disappeared last week. Maybe he can step up. And again, we talked about the post game with Jeffrey Simmons. Just need to see a little more effort on 100% of the plays, and I think he can come up big. So that's where it starts for me this week. That's what I'm looking for.
Exactly. That's for me too, man. You gotta generate pressure at the line, and you also have to absolutely smother Justin Jefferson, but you can't allow. I mean, see, I think T.J. Hawkinson is their second or third leading receiver, and Josh Downs is like the second or third. It's right there. It's not that much of a difference between those two. So you can't let those two have free reign just because you're smothering up Justin Jefferson. So it's a very complex defense, especially if Aaron Jones plays. If he goes, then it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, I mean,
I
he's
don't know that he
averaging
will, but maybe
4.6 yards a carry on the season. And unlike the Titans, they will use the pass to open up the run. I mean, if you look at the
absolutely.
receiving numbers, it's It's basically Justin Jefferson and everybody else, though. I mean, he's got 831 yards on the year. The next closest is Jordan Addison with 298.
Oh,
So,
is that it?
I mean, yeah, you've got to be able, you've got, like you said, you've got to be able to cover him up, and then, I mean, if you let them get the run game going, it's going to be a long day. I feel like you've got to start, locking down Jefferson. See what they're going to do on the ground if the defensive line initially can hold up, and then go from there. But I feel like Minnesota's probably going to come out and take some early shots to try to test the secondary.
I agree. I think they'll also see what I mean, especially if, which I don't expect it, but especially if Snead doesn't play. We roll out with Baker Jr. and Brownlee Jr. as our two outside guys. Then Roger McCreary, who's been decently solid all year, but hasn't really taken advantage of his opportunities either. But point is, that's not a scary defensive back. Nobody in the NFL is going, ooh, I don't want to throw against those guys. So, yeah, I expect an aerial attack, like you said, open up the run, unlike what we do.
How often do you see them trying to play man on Jefferson? I mean, do you think? I mean, if you look at the Titans, they've been pretty balanced from what I can tell as far as their coverages. Do you just stick someone on him for the majority of the game and just see how they hold up? I mean, is that kind of if you're Denard Wilson, what are you looking at for that?
Yeah, I'll be honest. If I'm Denard Wilson, I'm looking at my best defensive back, which probably right now is Brownlee, and you are covering Justin Jefferson the entire game. Doesn't matter where he lines up, that's where you line up. But that's how I would play it. I mean, from like what you said, mostly he doesn't do that. He covers one side of the field.
Mm-hmm.
He uses a lot of man, and it really depends on down and distance for him. If you look at it, if the down and distance is like second or third down, and you've got more than say 7 or 8 yards to go, then he's more of a zone defense. Unless it's third down, then he switches to the blitz usually. Only occasionally, though. It's not as much as I would think, or I thought it was going to be, especially not from the defensive back side. He blitzed a lot from the defensive back in Ravens, and he does not do that very often in the Titans. But maybe that's personnel choice. So, but the Vikings defense lead the NFL in forced turnovers. I think that the turnover battle is really, I think, what's going to determine where this game goes. I mean, if we can generate some turnovers and keep Levis from, constantly giving them the ball, or keep our special teams from letting them run 70-yard returns or whatever, then we should be able to have a decent chance of winning this game.
Yeah, and that's going back to what I said at the beginning. I mean, that's the question for me, is which version of Will Levis are we going to see? Because I don't know that he gets it done. Like I said, just being that game manager like he was last week, I think he's got to make the plays. But at the same time, he's still got to reel back and try to limit the mistakes. So it's, we're kind of right back where we started with him. It's just it is what it is at this point, but I mean that's his job, is to go prove it. If he wants to continue to stay on this team, if he wants to be in the NFL next year, he's got to go prove it. And I mean, there's no better way to do it than against this defense. So if he can come out, if he can make the plays, make the throws, take the deep shots, just connect on 2 or 3, make them respect it, and then get your run game going. I mean, that's what we've been begging for all season. So we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, got some other cool stuff to talk about, especially a story between Justin Jefferson and Brownlee Jr., a little connection that happened a couple years ago that's actually come to fruition now. But stick around, 40-second ad from our sponsor, Red Zone Builders. What's up, Titans fans? Maximus Titan fan here. Are you in need of professional excavation services? Look no further. Red Zone Builders has the expertise, experience, and equipment to handle all or any excavation project, big or small. Whether you need land clearing, site preparation, trenching, foundation excavation, or any other excavation services, they have you covered. Their team of skilled professionals will work diligently to ensure your project is completed safely, efficiently, and to your satisfaction. Trust the experts at Red Zone Builders to get the job done right. Hey, that was pretty quick. Told you. Um, so yeah, cool story between Justin Jefferson and Brownlee Jr. I believe it was two years ago. Brownlee Jr. somehow, I don't know exactly the story on that, but somehow got to talk to Justin Jefferson on the telephone, and basically Justin Jefferson, gave him some friendly advice, and then told him, when you get to the NFL, I'm going to work you. And here we are, 2 years later. Brownlee gets the start. And in the interview or post practice today, he said, I'm ready for the challenge. Let's go. I'm ready to go. And I thought that was a really cool story. And it's interesting to see. He thinks it's going to be a physical matchup. So I think that's going to be interesting too. We all know Brownlee likes to be physical. So I think it's going to be interesting. Be a really interesting gauge to see how good Brownlee really is. Is he as good as we think he is, or is he just a good cornerback?
Yeah, and for me, I don't see Justin Jefferson having like one of those massive 160, 170 yard games, but he's going to make his plays. I mean, this is a guy, he's going to get his catches, he's going to be targeted a lot. They're definitely going to try to attack that early. The biggest thing for me is just keep him in front of you, prevent the yards after catch. I was looking, I think he's got 239 yards after catch. So, I mean, he's making moves on guys. So just keep him in front of you, make a tackle. Don't let a 8-yard pass on first down turn into a 60-yarder. I mean, that's the key for Brownlee in this game. Don't get in your head because, like I said, he's going to make his catches and he's probably going to burn you at some point. But, just stay up and again, I agree with you. I think he's going to be on him the majority of the game. So just hold up. That's all I got to ask for him is just hold up.
Yeah. Just like you said, keep him in front of you, man. Sam Darnold last week during the game against the Jags, he was 24-38 for 233 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a rating of 48.2. That sound like a quarterback,
Unfortunately, yeah, it does.
So
the only difference is if you look at the season as a whole. I mean,
yeah. I mean, if you look at it as a whole, it's not even close. But it would be nice if we could get Darnold to play like Levis.
Yeah.
And get Levis to play like early season Darnold. That would be sweet. But, hey.
I've seen nothing to this point that tells me that would happen, but I guess it is possible. I'll put it that way.
I'll be honest with you. Optimism lets me down so much.
Yeah. What you don't want to do as the Titans is let this be a get right game for Darnold, because honestly, that's how the Vikings are looking at this. They're looking at this saying, look, we're going to go in. We're going to blitz them. We're going to get our turnovers. Darnold's going to play well. Justin Jefferson's going to get these catches. Like, this is a get right game for them. And if you're the Titans, I mean, you're just trying to spoil that. That's my opinion. I think you go in. This is a better football team. It is a better defense than what your offense has been able to handle. Special teams, I don't even want to go there, but, it seems like once a week, if not twice a week, we see some kind of bad play on special teams. So you got to get that cleaned up, and you just got to go spoil this because they are the better football team. They do have the talent. You just got to make the plays. This is why we play the games. If it was all decided on paper, Titans should be at least maybe a 6-win team. So
yeah, and I'll be honest with you, man. I don't expect to win this game. If I'm being real, if I'm being honest, not an optimist, I don't think we will. But this is one of those games that the Titans in the past has had a tendency to win. A game that they absolutely have no business winning. And that doesn't measure. You know what I mean? They're way above where the Titans are. They're literally reversed. We're 2-7 or 2-7. They're 7-2. So I mean, it's literally a mirror image. But that's what the Titans do in the old days. So I don't know. Maybe I'm holding out some stupid hope. But like I said, optimism's let me down a lot in the past. So don't let me spread that to you because it's not great.
Hey, somebody's got to have it.
That's right. That's right. Somebody's got to keep the faith.
That's right.
We were talking about how bad Darnold could be. Conversely to that, last week the Vikings defense was able to make Matt Jones, who's not a great quarterback, but he had 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble. So that's not great, especially knowing who we have at the quarterback position. I'm just saying. At any moment, I feel like he did okay. I guess in the numbers game, I guess they say he played a conservatively good game. I don't really know what that means, but
I mean, you can't. My only issue with that is you can't play a conservative game in a loss and say it was a success. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
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 we saw the progression. Like he didn't do any of the crazy turnovers. He wasn't a meme this week, but at the same time, it's not good enough. And this is the Levis we should have seen in week 1, and then progress from there. But now we're here at 2-7, and we're seeing what he should have looked like at the beginning of the year. So I see both sides of the coin. Like, yeah, he progressed technically, but I see him holding the ball too long. I see him
oh
being
yeah,
gun shy. I see him still not making the right decisions. I mean, we've still got receivers getting separation, and he can't hit them when he's looking right at them. So I don't know. Part of me wants to say that he's not in his head and he's kind of just this has been a humbling season and a humbling experience for him, and he's kind of done a reset, and maybe we see a better version more like we saw last year. I mean, I think that's a possibility, but again, I've just seen nothing to this point that tells me that he can do that and he can sustain that. So I hope I'm wrong. But if the Titans, I keep saying it, if they're going to have a chance in this one, it's going to have to be on his shoulders. I mean, he's going to have to do something
yep,
special and go win this football game, because Tony Pollard is not going to go win this football game. This defense is not going to go win this football game. I mean, it's going to come down to what Levis can do in the pocket.
yep, yep. And Alex brings up a good point here about Shador Sanders. But to be honest, dude, we're not. I refuse to do this early in the season. I mean,
I mean, at this point,
I've made some comments. Everybody, if you follow me on social media, you already know how I feel about the quarterback situation this year. I've even said a couple times on the show how I feel about it, but I'm still not going into draft stuff.
Did you see what Dion said? I mean, we won't get into who they're drafting, but did you see what
Are you
Dion
talking
said?
about? Let's see, what was it on the where he was talking about where he wanted him to play or
Yeah,
how
like they were
what kind of
asking.
organization he wanted
Yeah,
him to
they were
play.
asking him like if he'd get involved, and he was like, "Oh, absolutely." Like, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, "Yeah, I'd get involved." And then he said, "Well, do you have like a region you want to see him in?" And he basically wouldn't give a region. He said, "I'm not going to give a region, but I'll give you, my ideal scenario." And it was a coach who had success with young quarterbacks, an organization that basically had its stuff together, more or less. Um, and there was one other crap. I didn't have it pulled up in front of me. There was one other part. But I mean, if you look at the Titan, they asked he said they even asked about the offensive line. He's like, nah, he's played behind bad offensive lines before. So if you look at what his criteria was, I mean, I think there's still questions with the Titans. I mean, uh, we have a coach who has worked with good quarterbacks. We haven't necessarily seen him develop quarterbacks. You have an organization that went all in for Levis. So I mean, why would you not go all in for a younger guy? So I don't know. I almost wish they would draft him just to see Dion's reaction. Like, is this really a place that he would it's a small market. You've got a new coach. You've got a system that we don't even know what the scheme and identity of this offense is supposed to be yet. So I'd just be curious to see what Dion's thoughts are on Tennessee specifically when it comes to Shadur.
I'll be honest, man. I've thought about this a lot, and I had one of my friends ask me about it today, and he was like, "What's your dream scenario for getting Shadur Sanders? Can you give me what you think would be optimal for you getting Shadur Sanders?" And I was like, okay, let's say that a very good likely chance that someone wants to make Denard Wilson a head coach next year, and he's gone. They do. They sign him and he's gone. I would love to give Deion Sanders an opportunity as a defensive coordinator in the NFL and go ahead and draft his kid. Now, if I'm not saying I want him, okay?
No.
I'm not. I'm just saying,
Oh
look,
no.
hear me out. Look, hear me out. Hear me out. I'm just saying, I think you would have success. First of all, he'd bring a lot of attention in the media.
Yeah, well, two things with that. One, I don't
I
think
can't
Dion's
say it
taking
with
a
a straight
coordinator
face.
job. I mean, they're legitimately NFL teams that I feel like are. I, I don't even want to say
I know.
dumb. They're NFL teams that would give this guy a head coaching job.
Dallas.
Yeah, exactly, Dallas. And I think my thing with that is I don't know. Do I think it would be a good fit? Yeah, probably, if I'm being honest. But I don't know that Dion would play for another NFL or would coach for another NFL team while Shadur was playing on another. Does that make sense? Like I don't know that he
Yeah,
would
no,
want
I
to
don't
coach
think that
against his
would. Nope.
quarterback. I don't see that happening. So I think Dion kind of stays put for the time being. I mean he's got
Well, I mean, that
he's
would
got a
be.
good gig in Colorado. Let's be honest.
I think that would be, almost contingent on the fact that his dad came with him. That would be the only way I would honestly want Shadur Sanders. Because to be honest, I don't want to say his ego because I don't really know the kid. All I know is what I've seen and what I know of quarterbacks who have that kind of firepower, also star power. He has a giant shadow of his father. So I feel like his ego would be way up here, like Will Levis's is. But I feel like if he had somebody that could easily tame that ego, like I don't know, maybe he just wants to get out of his dad's shadow. I don't
Yeah,
know.
see, I'm kind of eating the rat poison here because the more I watch him and the more I think about it, I don't
Don't do
hate
it,
the
man.
idea. I mean, look,
Don't.
this is a guy who started every game in middle school, started every game in high school, started all but one game in college. Like it when you talk about the raw athleticism and the experience and the talent, and I don't know, I don't see look, he plays for a Colorado team that thrives on ego. And when I look at him play, I see the excitement and I see the love for football, but I don't necessarily see the ego. Same way with Travis Hunter. I mean, Travis Hunter, for a kid that talented, could do all the smack talk he wanted to, but you don't really see that. Like in interviews, he just, I love football. It's what I've
I'll
always
give you
known.
that.
Like I don't see that. I mean, these are guys who grew up in it, and the more I watch him play and the more I look at his track record, because Dion's right, like he's never really played with great offensive lines. Like I'm not ready to say he's a generational talent yet, but I really hope Colorado gets into the new playoffs to see how he fares against some of these better defenses, because it's kind of hard to get a gauge on him right now. I really want to see them go up against an Alabama, a Tennessee, a Georgia, heck, an Oregon, Ohio State. I mean, I really hope they get into the playoffs just so I can get a better gauge for who Shadur is as a player. So that I need to see that before I'm ready to make the bold decision of this is the guy that I want. And I think that's what a lot of NFL teams are waiting on.
Mm-hmm.
Because for the first time in a long time, you've got these smaller name programs, the Indianas, the BYUs. You're finally going to get to see how some of these players go up against better competition with the SEC. We don't get that a lot. So I think a lot of GMs out there are looking at their draft boards and they've got asterisks by some guys to say, hey, if they get in the playoffs, I want to see how this player performs. I want to see them against a little bit better competition. I think that's going to help the draft out in a big way.
I'll say this. The only positive thing that I can take away from Shadur Sanders is that, or the only thing that I can think of myself that I will constantly be saying to myself if we draft him, that I will say to myself to allow myself to sleep is Patrick Mahomes came from Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody expected him to be the NFL powerhouse that he is. But I think that it also took the pairing of Andy Reid in the right situation and all that stuff. So can Brian Callahan and something like that, that's what I'll be telling myself to help myself sleep if we do draft Shadur Sanders. But I am still on the boat of I would rather take Travis Hunter or the best skill position or trade down, or I am not in the idea of drafting a quarterback this year.
Well, to build on that point, another thing about a lot of these guys you're looking at, Patrick Mahomes, you look back at Tom Brady. I mean, they had a year or two to sit behind somebody and learn the offense. And I think that's just a huge part of it. So even if they do draft a quarterback, whether it be Dylan Gabriel, Shadur Sanders, Cam Ward, like if they draft a quarterback, I wouldn't be shocked if they're of that same mentality of, hey, let's go get we've got this guy on a rookie deal. Let's go get a Matt Stafford, a Justin Fields, God help us, a Russell Wilson. Let's go get a guy like that they can sit behind for a year. Like it wouldn't shock me. And I think that would be the right way to go. Now, on the flip side of that, you also have to look at, you now have a first-year head coach. He's going to have his opportunity, barring something crazy happen, he's going to have his opportunity to go get his guy. So do you almost have to start him at that point? Because if you're on a thin rope with, I mean, look, let's be honest. If they don't finish this year with any more games, he's got half a season to I feel like show what he can do come next year. I don't know. I still haven't seen a proof of concept from Callahan, if I'm being honest. So if you do go get a young guy and that's your guy, does he almost feel a little lost at the end? But does he almost have to start him to prove that this is my guy, this is who I want to have moving forward? Like, is he in that position? Can you draft a quarterback and also go get a free agent?
Yeah, I think honestly, it depends on how much. If he is selling good enough that Amy and Rand are buying, then it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what his performance is or how many games he wins or whatever. As long as he's still selling Amy and Rand on what his plans are, then I feel like we stick with him. But we'll see.
I mean,
I
yeah,
will
my
say,
thing is, if you finish this year with 2 wins and then you go into next year 0-6, like,
that's
yeah, I mean, I don't see that.
I will say that it is not. It's a very tight rope to walk. I will say that, and then the pressure comes on if your patch quarterback, because that's what we're really talking about here. If your patch quarterback does not come in and perform like you want him to, then you're in a really sticky situation. Because like you said, then are you forced to start your young quarterback even though he's probably not ready? And I feel like you hit on a real big thing.
It's the Colts conundrum. I mean, that's
well, it's not only that, it's a lot of people talk about it, and it's a real problem right now in the NFL that they can't develop young quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like that is because they rush them in to play. Like you said, some of the greats, some of the better quarterbacks we've seen over the last few decades have sat. They didn't start. Jared Allen is like the rarity that actually started from day one and has done nothing but got better since he played.
Yeah,
Other than him, I can't really think of another quarterback that started at day one and just kept. Well, no, Lamar Jackson, but I don't know
I
that
was
he's
think
progressively gotten better.
that's exactly, but there are always going to be guys like that who are generational talents. I mean, that's just Andrew Luck was one of those guys. I mean,
Oh man,
there are dudes out there, but then you look at like the Colts situation now. I mean, they bring in Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson started 12 games in college, and that's it. I mean, he doesn't even have college experience, much less NFL experience. So, if you are the Titans, I mean, I'm setting down with a list, a checklist. I'm going to say I want a guy who's a senior. I want a guy with at least double touchdown to interception ratio. I want a guy who's had those starts, who's been in the big games, and then I'm breaking that down. And like I said, we might get to see that with Shadur, come playoff time in college. But I just don't think you can pull the trigger on one of those guys like Anthony Richardson, because you're going to end up, because then you have your young quarterback and you have your patch guy, and then neither one of them work out. And then you set Richardson, and then you bring Richardson back in a week later. Like that's the
oh, it's
situation I
terrible.
do not want to fall into.
Again, that's the only thing that makes me feel better right now as a Titans fan is knowing that I'm not a Jaguars or Colts fan. If I was a Texans fan, I'd be a little. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I'm glad I'm not a Colts or a Jaguars fan. That's all. I'm going to leave it at that.
There are worse situations to be in.
That is correct. Yes, we could have paid a lot more for Will Levis than we are, or we could have spent, top 5 draft pick on something that we have no faith in, which is insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't imagine being a Colts fan right now. And the train wreck that's going on in that front office. They're just and see, that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That is a coach who is still not selling his or isn't selling his GM. He's lost him. And he's just trying, he's pulling at straws, dude, doing everything he can to try to keep his job because he knows if he doesn't keep selling him the beans, he's going to be gone at the end of the season.
Yeah, and that again, that's why I feel like, with Callahan next year, it's going to be real interesting to see the route they go. Like, do they go get his guy, or do they bring in somebody and he sell a plan? So I don't know. If they do bring in a quarterback in the first round, just know that all the chips are in with Callahan on whatever quarterback that is. I'll just put it
Yeah.
that way.
Well, to be honest, all chips are in on that one player for him and Rand, in my
That's true
opinion. I
too.
mean, Rand is a really good drafter, and he's been much better as a free agent acquisitioner. I don't think that's a word, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's done a lot better job than John Robinson, but I am a firm believer in don't let good stand in the way of great.
Yeah.
If you can find something better or find somebody with a better system. So, yeah, they are going to look at this pick as his catalyst, I guess, as to whether
Yeah.
he stays with us for a while or not.
Yeah, and like you said, Rand too. I mean, look, I do think he's done very well in the draft, but Levis, I think Levis was Carthon's guy. Like, I really think Levis was Carthon's guy. I think that's why. I think I would not be surprised to learn that there might have been some tension between Vrabel and Carthon on Levis. I mean, if you look back on
Absolutely.
how that went, you saw a little bit of ticked off from Mike Vrabel that Levis was continuing to go out there. And I think part of that was Carthon saying, no, I want him out there. Like, this is my draft pick. This guy has the talent. He has the ceiling. He's who I want in the game. And I think you might be seeing that this year. I think Carthon's the one. I think if Callahan had it his way, he would want to win games, and I think he might move on to Rudolph. But I think Carthon might have a say in Will Levis being the starter. It would be a pretty educated guess that Carthon is the one keeping Levis in these games. So yeah, I mean, like you said, this is on Carthon too. If they go get that young quarterback, it's a prove it situation for both of them. So all the chips are in if they take the young guy in the first round.
Yep. It's phew. This is why I don't want to get into these conversations yet. It's way too early. It's way too early to be doing this, man. But yeah, let's see. We haven't even done our bold
No.
I'm not doing bold predictions for the Vikings. I'm not even going to do a score prediction. I predict we will lose. There you go. That's my prediction.
I'll go 23-10 Vikings. I don't think it's going to be a pretty one. I will say this. I think if the Titans win this game, like I said, it'll be on the back of Levis. I think you need about 24, 25 points to do that. I think you need to put that up to beat this Vikings team. So look, it might end up being a close one where the Titans squeak out a field goal. If the Titans were to win, we'll say 27-24, but my prediction would be Vikings 23, Titans 10. I just think this defense is too much for this team now. I don't think the line's going to be able to hold up. I think they're going to push Will Levis out of the pocket. They're very good at putting quarterbacks on the run and making them uncomfortable. And I think when that happens, you see some mistakes from Levis. I think he gets outside the pocket and doesn't feel comfortable and confident in his throws, and he either takes sacks like we saw last week or he puts the ball in harm's way. I see that being how this one goes, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there, man. The only thing that I really hope to see is some kind of turnover generation on the defense would be sweet. Some pass rush. I've been asking for that all year, but I don't think that's happening this year. I think just stopping the run for me would be good for the defensive line. What's up, dude? Kind of late to the party, but that's okay, man. It's all good. I don't know, man. You got any wrap up things to talk about?
No, I mean, look, it's a home game. We're back on CBS, so at least some things are changing. We get off Fox, maybe Fox with some bad luck. So you're back on CBS. You get a home game. If you're able to go, show up, be loud, continue to support this team because there are better things ahead. I promise. Whether it's a new quarterback, whether it's a pass rush, whether it's figuring out what we have and generating some offense, there are better things ahead. It gets better than this. So just stick with us for everything Titans, and we'll keep you guys up to date.
Yeah, I will say that, man. I looked at ticket prices earlier today, just joking around because, to be honest, I don't like going to cold games. Once it starts getting chilly, I don't really do that often unless we're doing something great. But anyway, it was about $150 to $160 for the high sections a couple weeks ago. $68 a ticket right now. So if you want to, if you ever thought about going to see the Titans and you don't want to spend that money, now's the time. This is one of those games where you're going to get a good discount on a ticket.
They'll probably only get cheaper too. So I mean, don't let this be your last visit.
Oh man, that's not a way. Hey, tighten up, everybody out there. Tighten up. Remember, any given Sunday, anything can happen.
That's right. Yep.
Till next time, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. If you've been with us the whole time, like, subscribe. Go check us out on YouTube. We got some exclusive stuff on there. I'm really pushing that to see how high we can get on our subscription list. So thank you. Till next time. Tighten up.
Tighten up.
Peace out.